NBC is now confirming for the first time what many of us already suspected or knew. The Iranian Air Force bombed U.S. bases in the opening phase of the war. Washington, American military bases and other equipment in the Persian Gulf region suffered extensive damage from Iranian strikes that is far worse than publicly acknowledged and is expected to cost billions of dollars to repair, according to 3 U.S. officials, 2 congressional aides, and another person familiar with the damage. It was so extensive, the damage, that we went to Planet Labs, the American government went to American commercial satellite companies and made them stop publishing imagery from the region. And at first it was supposed to be for like 7 days, and now it's permanent. We knew that was confirmation even back then. We already had confirmation. If you were following open source intelligence on Twitter, you already saw many of those strikes. Mizar Vision did, extensive work on this too. The Chinese commercial satellite company. We knew about this already. Now it's confirmed in mainstream news. Right? That's why I say Piker Broadcasting Service for tomorrow's news today. Subscribe to the People's Broadcasting Service, the Piker Broadcasting Service. I told you Iran was cratering American bases to the tune of billions of dollars of damage over and over again. Many people were completely oblivious to this reality, and many people still are completely oblivious to this reality. And on top of that, they have no understanding of what this represents for America's force projection capabilities. They are also completely oblivious to what that even means. What is America's force projection capabilities? That's why you come here to the Piker Broadcasting Service to understand all of these concepts. And hopefully I do a decent job of explaining all this stuff and it's no longer seen as so complex. The Iranian regime swiftly retaliated after the Trump administration attacked on February 28th, hitting dozens of targets across U.S. military bases in 7 Middle East countries. Those attacks struck warehouses, command headquarters, aircraft hangars, satellite communications infrastructure, runways, high-end radar systems, and dozens of aircraft, according to the U.S. officials, and an assessment by the American Enterprise Institute, a conservative think tank in Washington, D.C. In the initial days of the war, an Iranian F-5 fighter jet bombed the U.S. base in Camp Beering in Kuwait. An F-5. Not only were, I don't know what's more disrespectful, $7,000 lawnmowers with propellers flying over the Strait of Hormuz and hitting these fucking Gulf bases and taking out billions of dollars worth of equipment, or a fucking F-5 fighter jet. An F-5 fighter jet that hasn't been modernized at all because of the sanctions. The F-5 made its first flight in 1959. That's fine. We still use a lot of ancient tech. The difference, of course, is when Iran is using that ancient tech, they haven't been able to modernize it because they have no components. They're not allowed to get the parts. They're not allowed to get the fucking proprietary technology. So they're using the 1950s version of the F-5. Despite the base having air defenses, a rare breach that marked the first time an enemy fixed-wing aircraft has struck an American military base in years, according to 2 of the U.S. officials. The 3 U.S. officials familiar with the damage to the U.S. base in the Middle East described it as extensive. The headquarters building for the U.S. Navy in Bahrain, the nerve center of the Navy's operations in the region, sustained serious damage, the official said. I mean, remember, the quadrant in the Iranian mosaic, the IRGC mosaic that was pummeling Bahrain was... holy fuck, they were going crazy in the first couple of weeks. If you remember, they just never stopped hitting Bahrain. It was the Dubai quadrant and the Bahrain quadrant that were just pummeling. And if you recall, I was like, I don't know what the fuck is going on here. Maybe the dude got cucked by some dude in Bahrain or something, but they were hitting that shit like they had revenge fantasies in mind, okay? Oh, yeah. They said other parts of the base in Bahrain also suffered significant damage that is likely repairable. Multiple hangars and warehouses in the Ali Al Salem air base in Kuwait also were struck, according to the American Enterprise Institute's unofficial assessment that was reviewed by NBC News. The assessment also shows a munitions storage facility at a military base in Adbil in northern Iraq that was damaged, and a runway at the sprawling Al Udeid air base in Qatar was destroyed. Al Udeid Air Base is the airbase for CENTCOM, Central Command. That is the heart of the American military operations in the fucking region. And Iran destroyed one of its fucking runways. That is unbelievable. U.S. bases have been cleared of U.S. troops and other personnel. So many of the bases were left essentially empty and vulnerable to attack by Iranian missiles and drones. Many of the troops who were temporarily relocated are expected to return to the bases once the tensions in the region subside. According to American Enterprise Institute's assessment, Iran hit more than 100 targets across 11 bases in 7 Gulf countries. Those attacks fell on U.S. and host nation bases in Qatar, the United Arab Emirates, Bahrain, Jordan, Kuwait, Iraq, and Saudi Arabia. The reason why this is, I guess, unique for some, maybe not interesting or unique for you, is because there was no information. There was an informational blackout in the GCC. People were literally being thrown in prison. There are still people in prison, including a friend of mine that I talked about as well, who just got released, as a matter of fact. He's an Al Jazeera reporter. But it was insane. Like, there was tremendous information blackout. The Planet Labs satellite imagery was frozen from the region, so we couldn't see the extensive damage. And yet we still knew, but most Americans were completely fucking oblivious. As a part of Epic Fury, the potential future costs to rebuild American military infrastructure overseas may include repair, reconstruction, outright replacement, or even abandonment and decommissioning of locales, Mackenzie Eaglin, a senior fellow at American Enterprise Institute, said in a statement about the group's assessment. War damage also includes estimated costs for infrastructure that is unsalvageable. Eaglin's cost estimate for repairing the infrastructure is more than $5 billion. Oh my lord. But that amount does not account for some of the radar systems, weapon systems, and aircraft and other equipment destroyed in the Iranian strikes, she said. Eaglin has worked on defense and budgetary and military readiness issues for years and is a former Pentagon official. The Iranians damaged at least 2 air defenses in the region, according to the U.S. officials. It's worse than that, by the way. In Bahrain, the base of the 5th Fleet headquarters, 7 reports of damage to satellite communications, radar protection structures, and large warehouses. Just know that those are gone, okay? If they're reporting that there was extensive damage, that means it's over. It's done. Remember the AWACS plane that they were claiming was dinged? There were 2 Strato tankers, and they were like, well, one was, there were 2 AWACS planes, and one was reported as being like somewhat damaged. It was obliterated, right? It was just fucking obliterated. So whenever these guys talk about like lightly damaged, dinged, it just means it's over, okay? It's been boomed out of existence. There's a video of the 5th Fleet headquarters getting bombed in the first few days. Yeah. That's gonna leave a mark, you know? It's not something you could put like a little bit of flight tape on and buff out. In Iraq, in the Adabid military base, 1 report of damage to General Administrative Building. In Jordan, the Mufawag Salti Air Base, damage to General Administrative Building. 10 reports of damage to warehouse and a runway in Kuwait in the Ali Al Salem Air Base. It's just, it's a fuck ton of damage. Americana subscribed to NBC News for a month to bring these screenshots. For people with poor reading comprehension, what's new here is that the Iranian jets flew straight through U.S. air defenses into Kuwait and possibly Bahrain and the United Arab Emirates to drop gravity bombs on American assets. The last time something like this happened was during the Korean War. The closest official confirmation we've had of this was a CENTCOM press release on March 2nd acknowledging Iranian Air Force activity. This also clears something up, specifically in Kuwait, where the Kuwaiti Air Force pilot shooting down American fighter jets makes a little bit more sense now, because it was just like, what the fuck? Did this guy just go rogue or something? Well, it turns out he might have accidentally thought that it was Iranian fighter jets or something, and then the Ghost of Kuwait took out 3 American fighter jets thinking it was an Iranian fighter jet, potentially.